I'm Michael Reese.
And I'm Woods Davis.
And this is the Digital President Podcast.
We've cracked the code for generating customers online for every business model.
In fact, we wrote the book on it.
We've built multiple multi-million-dollar businesses in as little as 90 days. And the one truth that we discovered is
the best business model is doing what you love and living your life by strategy.
You truly can follow your passion and create the life of your dreams,
as long as you have the right strategy.
If you're a real estate agent and you'd like to learn how you can partner with us to help you implement our strategies and systems in your business so you can make a lot more money and have a lot more time freedom, all without ever paying us a penny or giving up a percentage of your commission, go to partnershipdetails.com and schedule a call with us today. While it's fresh in your mind, go to partnershipdetails.com. Now on to the podcast. What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 33 of the Digital President Podcast. I'm Woods Davis, and I'm here with my co-host,
Michael Reese. Hey, what's up, everyone?
Well, I can tell you we're super excited for this new year. We're kicking off 2022, right? And in today's episode, we're going to give our reaction to some of the predictions for this year, what's going to go on inside of the real estate market, and more importantly, what you can do as a real estate agent to really make sure that you go into this new year and thrive. So, Michael, man, I really wanted to kick this off and ask you some questions, get some of your expert opinion on what you think 2022 is going to be like. So let me just start off by asking you, man, what do you think's in store for 2022? Do you think this is going to be a good year for real estate, or do you think it's going to be one that's going to be maybe a little more challenging?
Well, I think it's going to be good for real estate agents, but that's going to be independent of the market. Right now, real estate agents, let me just and this is a point that I know you agree with, whether the market's going up or down, you can still have a good year. You can have your best year. It's about getting, I know people who did good during the REO times, people who did good during short times. I've known agents that have absolutely murdered it when new construction was on fire. That's been probably 2 or 3 times in my career that's spanning now 20 years in residential real estate. And so I think that there's going to be opportunity. I think in market shifts, there's opportunities, and those opportunities are there for agents. Now, I think when you look at, who are we talking about? Who's the character? Are we talking about the agent? Are we talking about first-time home buyers, luxury homeowners, second-time homeowners? All of those are different sub-markets. I think you're going to continue to have buyers looking for inventory. I think you're going to continue to have new buyers enter the market. We're going to have, some different things from our current administration that are going to affect things that may stimulate or not the market. I think you're going to have inflation and stuff like that currently affect what's going on. But here's the facts. I mean, the facts are 40% of all dollars that have been currently available to Americans as of today of this recording have been printed in the last, 24 months. If you follow my neighbor, Peter Schiff here in Dorado, Puerto Rico, he's I guess you can call him an economist, very popular guy. He has his sets of opinions, and he's been right. He's predicted down markets. I would stay in my lane when it comes to marketing, Woods. And I would say that for agents to have their best year ever, the prediction is the same as last year and the year before and the year before. The best marketer will always win. And so the real question is, what are their predictions for marketing in regards to real estate professionals? And will that change? And the answer is yes, it has changed. What I mean by that is, we've said it for a long time. I remember, Woods, when we first moved to EXP, okay? I want to make this point real quick. When we first made the move to EXP, we would walk into rooms in 2017, 2018, and we'd ask a room of 100 agents, how many people ever heard of EXP? Now, granted, there might be 4,000 or 5,000 agents in the company total, across Canada and the United States. If you fast forward 24 months later, most of my interviews, I talked to $100 million producers, agents that have went from 400 transactions to 2,000 transactions, new agents that just got into the business that, were told that EXP wasn't for new agents. All of that was hogwash. People didn't know what it was. As people are starting to realize that it's a great opportunity, people are moving, but they wish woods. They wish they would have made the move when they first heard about it. Well, it's going to be the same with marketing. You know, you have Gary Vee talking about TikTok. What is TikTok? TikTok is video marketing, right? You had him talking about video marketing specifically, not TikTok in the past. Obviously, we've been screaming since we launched Celebrity Agent Blueprint. We've been screaming, you know, video marketing, specifically marketing to help you with your conversions, to help your landing pages increase, to help with your nurture. And I think all of that led us to YouTube. And, you know, I'll just tell the truth, man, for the business that I produce, which I'm in the business of helping real estate agents, you know, my YouTube channel, youtube.com/Michael Reese, has been absolutely the best investment of time. We wrote about it in the book, Digital President. I mean, I have people that are watching videos while I sleep, that are getting educated, that can go through any, you know, content consumption is no longer linear. I'm getting on the phone with people who know what I believe. They understand my philosophy. They know my methodology. They understand our success stories. They usually know what I did last week. They know if I'm running a triathlon. They know everything about me. They've been able to do their research. So one is the best. Let's lay out the highest level. The best content marketer will win in 2022. Period. 100%. And if you want to say, what do I think that out of content marketers, who's going to win in content marketing? That's going to be people who do video content and that are not perfectionists. They don't worry about perfectionism. They worry about consistency and adding value, and they're not in their own heads. They have no limiting beliefs. They believe that there's customers out there that ask them questions, and those questions are also and the answers to those questions are not limited to the people that just ask them in person, and producing content around the challenges and the problems and just the educational stuff that we do as real estate agents, even to the point of educate and entertain, because I've seen a lot of agents, Woods, and a lot of them are pretty darn entertaining, you know, just living throughout their life. But when people produce that type of content in their marketplace and they do it strategically, I believe that they won't have a problem whether the market goes up or goes down. They'll just continue to live their lives. They'll continue to learn and educate. And when you become that person in the marketplace that people look to for information, you'll be considered an expert. You'll have authority, and you will continue to attract and not chase clients. And that's what I believe. I believe we're in a transition from the old chasing methodology will not keep you in the business of being able to, when you chase, you're limited on time, you're limited. It's a terrible scale. So yeah, I think that people are going to be more in the attraction business. They're going to be more about attracting audience, creating funnels to convert them.
Well, I'd have to agree with you. I think that this year in particular, I think we really saw a huge shift last year, in terms of moving from the traditional prospecting. We saw this shift originally when the internet first came out, where real estate was such a prospecting heavy business. It was all about making the calls. Then a handful of agents started to get really proficient on using the internet to generate leads and actually generate inbound leads, generate people that were calling them, generating people that were reaching out to them. And that started to kind of become the standard for a business, is to be able to generate inbound leads using things like IDX websites, things like that. But then also too, using direct response marketing. And those principles are still very important. I still believe that in lead generation, I still believe that you should have funnels and have offers for people to be able to trade their contact information in exchange for receiving value from you to kind of get into the funnel. But the biggest thing that I see, and the biggest thing that I believe, is that if you just rely on lead generation alone, if you just rely on prospecting alone, and you're not creating the content, then you're really going to continue to see the people that do produce content outpace people that are just doing the traditional methods, whether it's prospecting or whether it's lead generation. They're going to really start running laps around them. And the reality is that now is that content is the new lead generation. It's just getting people to the value, and it's getting them to the value based on where they are. Right now, content is posted on social media. People spend their time on social media. So we're trying to, instead of trying to interrupt people in their Facebook feed, in their YouTube stream, and then trying to take them off site, trying to get them over to your website. We used to post videos on a website. We used to post videos on a blog. And our whole goal was to get people over to our website so we could then get them to, click around, maybe start searching for properties, or maybe take us up on an offer that's in the sidebar to get the value of their home, or maybe get a cash offer, something like that. And again, having calls to action is still a principle that you need to have. But what I see happening now more than ever is we're so less concerned with driving traffic to our website. And it's really more about getting traffic to our content. And then the content is now, when you learn how to do content the correct way, and you learn how to layer in calls to action, again, you're just kind of adding value up front through the content, which is giving the consumer, it's a better experience for them because they're receiving up front. Then they can decide whether they want to, spend more time with you or take you up on an offer. If they want to go down into the description on a YouTube video and click some of the links. And that's one of my biggest takeaways is what we've seen, especially as we've started to really develop YouTube, and is that YouTube videos for us, it's almost like the new landing page, because not only do we have a video that provides content and adds value and gives people what they're looking for. If somebody's searching for, maybe somebody's searching to try to get information about a neighborhood, or they're searching for information about a city, or even a particular, builder or house or something, some type of product related to their home search, and they're then consuming your video, they're getting that value up front. And then you have the ability to layer in all those calls to action in the actual page. And the coolest thing about this is we were having a conversation about this earlier. We used to, when we really started, we've always known the value of content, but when we really started to understand the value of putting content first in the funnel, we used to run ads on Facebook. We used to create video content specifically, and we would promote that content on Facebook in order to build an audience of people who were interested in what we're talking about. And the benefit of that is that, again, we're adding value up front. We're building this audience of people who are interested in watching a video that is teaching them something or giving them something that they're looking for. Then subsequently to them watching the video, then we would run an ad to them to try to get them to take us up on an offer. And I think that the value of producing, content now is just paramount, because again, you're just leveraging these principles of reciprocity, and the way and where everybody's spending their time now is on social media platforms. And that's only going to continue to increase. I think people are going to spend more time on devices. I think that they're going to really start spending more time in, I think we are transitioning over to a more meta type society, where people are going to care more about what happens online, what happens in the metaverse of, social media platforms and these communities that we build in them versus, what's happening in real life. So I definitely agree that content is going to continue to be more and more and more important as we move forward into 2022.
Well, I definitely think we're saying the same thing, as it relates to, you bring up an interesting point, because one of my favorite comments was on one of my last videos. It was Richard, our buddy Richard, who used to run ads for us. And he basically was chiming in on your website is dead versus YouTube, which is really kind of what you were just saying. And he was saying that your website is your asset. And, I had to respond in the way that you did. The one thing that I think is important for people to know is, you have to start somewhere. When we're talking about this, for people as far as how it's going to work, I believe that people, just like in real estate, are going to build teams, and that teams of the future are going to look like digital agencies, and that they're going to provide services. Back in 2016, when we were doing our partner model, which I won't get into the difference between partner and expansion, but at a very subsurface level, our partners are still their own agent. They're still their own business. They have their own brand. Everything is still the same, right? It would be like me partnering with FedEx to deliver my package the last mile, right? They're a part of my partnership team. I believe that agents that are going to take advantage of this, they're going to build teams. They're going to build digital agencies with people that have specific skill sets that allow that agent to produce content faster, more meaningful, and the people that are going to come through are going to always be the most authentic. Meaning the people who say things like, "What? I can't believe they just said that," are the people that are more vulnerable, the people that show more of the story, the people that are less produced. I think those people are going to win in that content game. I do believe, just for our one of our subscribers, and if you haven't subscribed, make sure you do us a favor, subscribe, and if you can do one favor for us, go over. There's a link in the description to the iTunes. If you can go over to iTunes and leave us one comment, that would be great. We would really appreciate it. Obviously, we work really, really hard on coming up with this content. We're really motivated about this year. And we'd like some of your help in getting this information out to other people. Now, what would be, a bad choice when it comes to producing content? A bad choice would be to think that you can't do it. To think that a bad choice would be to think that other people have a head start. A bad choice would be to think that it would not work, right? Those conversations in your head are just limiting beliefs that limit people. And so I think in the future, Woods, that's going to be the best part of real estate. Is real estate's always going to be not won by the best realtor, but it's going to be won by the best marketer, and the best marketer is always going to be the best learner, because things are going to always continue to change.
Well, I think that that's a great perspective coming from the agent standpoint. Let's talk maybe a little bit about, buyers and sellers, going into 2022, because that's obviously going to have a big impact on the real estate industry. There's a lot of different things that are going to be coming to pass in 2022. Number one thing I think is probably interest rates. I actually came across an article that Inman had put out, and kind of giving some of the 2022 predictions. First of all, interest rates are most likely going to rise. I think most people agree with that. The Fed has come out and made statements that they are going to be starting to increase interest rates. And, the big question is, with the combination of interest rates starting to rise, new home builds, I know that they're planning on building 1.6 million new homes in 2022. So with inventory levels maybe starting to rise, do you think that that's going to shift the market maybe more over back towards the buyers? Or do you think we're going to continue to have just this low inventory, strong sellers market going into 2022?
Obviously, I think that's just math, right? You just look at the current pending ratio and the inventory, right? So if you have 100 homes for sale and there's 30 current pendings, and you can kind of see, kind of like doing a market absorption analysis, you can see your months of inventory. And when your months of inventory are as low as they are, it's certainly a buyer's market. What's that mean for the buyer? Well, the buyer... Let me tell you what I know for a fact. When you are a buyer, a real buyer, you have available to you what's available on the market, period. And you're able to pay what you're willing and able to pay. And if someone's willing and able to pay more, meaning maybe they're going to pay more than the appraised value, or those things are going to continue to happen until there's sellers. And sellers will until the day that sellers think that tomorrow could be worse than today, they will be a hard negotiation. And I've done 2 real estate deals in the last almost in a 12-month period. And both of those were pretty tough, and I did things outside of the norm that I have never, ever, ever done before. I would never, if you would have went back 4 years ago and ever told me I would have done the real estate transactions I did, Woods, the way that I did them and just gave me a little bit of the detail. But guess what? I still won. On one of the real estate transactions, I still won because it's a real estate transaction. It's an investment. Do I believe home prices will go up? I think it goes back to, yes, home prices will continue to go up as long as there's more buyers and sellers. And do I believe that there's going to be, the way that traditionally home values, first of all, home prices are going to go up because of inflation, period. Meaning that there's more dollars, your dollars are worth less. 40% of the dollars that were printed that are currently available to us were printed in the last 24 months. So things are going to continue to cost you more and more money. There's going to be uncertainty. So through that, regardless, in a great market or a bad market, buyers are going to have to compete for the best properties. Best properties meaning homes that have the best features at the best value, right? Best locations at the best value. There's always going to be a value-driven transaction. And it's going to always continue to follow the same laws. If you only have one home on a peninsula surrounded by water on 3 sections, or only one home on 1 acre in the neighborhood, and it's are 3 homes in your entire city that are on those types of properties are going to always, in any market, have more demand. And I think that those are going to continue. From back to the agent's perspective, I think knowing that information and being able to do the homework so that you can be understanding and then communicating what you learn will continue to put you in the place where you're relevant and people reach out to you. I'll give you an example. The most meaningful content that you can provide to buyers is information that they have questions about, right? Mm-hmm. And if you talk to buyers that are looking for homes and you index those questions and answer them over time and make that information searchable and findable, then you're going to find both the buyers that are willing to pay the price and buyers that aren't willing to pay the price. But let me explain one thing to you. It will always be out of your control. You're never going to convince a buyer that one home's better than another. Buyers buy. They're not sold. And so you're going to only have the inventory available to you. What you want to be is you want to be a consultative type selling agent. You want to be an advisor. You want to advise them by having the latest market research, the latest market data. You're going to want to continue to find out their reasons and needs for selling, and you're going to have to educate them on the front end. And based upon that and that alone, you're going to have to advise them through this transaction, whether the market goes up and goes down. And I believe that the person who is able to come across not only with the best intentions, which are the fiduciary responsibility, but that comes across that way before the client relationship is made. Meaning, I'm going to go and be preeminent, right? Jay Abraham, the strategy of preeminence. I'm going to be a preeminent person and go out and put you in everybody looking to buy. I'm going to put you in my care. You are in my care. And in the morning, I'm going to wake up every day and think about what kept you up at night. What rocks do you have? What hurdles? What uncertainty? And I'm going to produce content for you as a solution to your problems, as answers to your question. And if you do that, again, not to beat a dead horse, you're going to attract. You're not going to chase. And no matter what happens, you're going to build a business that's going to be able to be sustainable through any market.
Man, this is really interesting. I agree with you 100% on the opportunity to really take that place of preeminence and have the agents that kind of take that role of really educating clients. I think there is a ton of uncertainty in this market, because I actually am starting to shift more into the camp that I think prices, despite the inflation, I think some prices in a lot of markets are, especially in the West, are actually going to go down. And I think that prices are probably going to go up in states like Florida. I think obviously wherever the demand's going to outpace the supply is obviously where prices are going to go up. But I think that we're going to see some of the prices adjust back down in Texas, where prices have just gone crazy but one thing in Texas is we build in Texas. Like I said, 1.6 million homes are going to be built this year. This is unprecedented. That's the same. There's never been so many new homes scheduled to be built in 1 year since 2016, which was kind of right before the market crash last time. Now, I don't think that the market's really going to crash, but I do think that the market's going to go down in some areas. I mean, there's this foreclosure moratorium that I guess just ended right here, beginning of the year. So there's all these other factors that are really driving the market. And so when you got so many different opinions, some people think the market's going to go up, some people think it's going to go down. It's really hard to keep your finger on the pulse, which really does provide a great opportunity because I think people are seeking information. I think people are interested in that information. I think people want to have a voice of reason or somebody who's an expert giving them some guidance, sharing data with them, and helping them guide them on kind of what's going to happen. Same thing that we're doing in this video right here, is trying to help provide some guidance on what to expect moving forward so they can make adjustments and they can make plans based on that. So I definitely agree with that. One of the things that's interesting, I know that there's definitely going to be some big shakeups scheduled in 2022 in terms of just the overall real estate business models. EXP's growth has been astronomical in 2021. I think I'm very biased being at EXP, but I think that that's going to continue to grow. One thing that I thought was interesting, Michael, and I'd like to get your opinion on this. There was a recent article that came out in Inman that basically was outlining some predictions for 2022. Brad Inman, the publisher of Inman News, actually had said this, and I'll actually read this out, and I'd like to get your opinion because a lot of other agents weighed in on this. So basically, Keller Williams is probably slated for an IPO coming up here pretty soon. And this is what Brad Inman's prediction was related to this IPO. He said, the Keller Williams and Douglas Elliman IPOs will face a lukewarm reception as the real estate market suffers and as stock equities remain volatile. Valuations across this sector will be depressed. And so that was his prediction. And then there was about 2,000 agents, a little over 2,000 agents that had weighed in, with 78% agreeing that this IPO might be a little lackluster. And then 22% disagreed with that statement. So what's your opinion, man? First of all, do you think Keller Williams is going to IPO this year? And, do you think that it's going to be a blockbuster, or do you think that they might face some challenges?
Woods, I do believe that they will IPO this year. And I think it's important, for understanding at least the basic intentions of IPOs and how those affect companies. There's first of all, remember that, IPOing and becoming publicly traded is going to create obviously some constraints to their business model. It's going to create a lot of transparency, which, transparency is great when you're winning, but it could hurt you and create a narrative that makes it harder. It obviously takes resources. There's a lot more legal exposure. If for some reason, things get to go in the wrong direction, remember there's other companies that can make money betting on you going down, which could actually impact you just from a different, and you have a board and other investors that you didn't once have as much governance, right? One of the things about being public is there's more from private to public is the governance around that. So, but it also has a lot of pros. And one of the pros is it gives you a currency. And so do I think that they need a currency in order to retain? I think going public is a retention strategy that could potentially be good or be bad. You got to realize, in the beginning, we did, like most people, most people go public to raise money. Okay. Just let's face the facts. People go public to raise money. In the beginning with EXP, our shares were provided to our agents, right? Like we had shares that were provided to our agents as awards and things that they can earn. So we, in the beginning, we were really concentrated on being agent earned and owned. And so does Keller Williams provide that type of opportunity? Is this an opportunity to retain top agents by offering a different level of currency in order to buy them? Hopefully not for the same price like Compass, right? Who buys you with your own future earnings, which is really just giving an agent a lump sum, which I can go into a story about a guy who was here, who made a very similar mistake with his brokerage. I won't say which brokerage it was, but that can be a mistake. And so it really depends on what the intent is. I believe when the intention is to create value in the marketplace, and when the intention is not to make one value. See, the problem with their model right now is their opportunities are limited. What I mean by that is I can't go open up a franchise in a territory where there's already a franchise in the territory. So that market opportunity is limited. And for some of those, the areas that are available are not attractive. All the best places are gone. And so I might have relationships in Frisco, might have lived there 20 years. My family might have lived there 100 years, but it really doesn't matter because in that business model, there is no ownership opportunity for me there, right? And if there is, it's limited to a few. And so, it just goes back to, are they just trying to raise money? Are they trying to really create opportunity? I think if they are trying to create opportunity, I believe they're going IPO. I believe that, reality will tell the truth over time, right? What they actually do. But from what I've witnessed, where I've had people who, are a part of that community, what I've witnessed is I don't personally think it's going to be as much of an opportunity. But if they're smart and I'm wrong, and then it'll be something similar to what you're currently seeing, which is, I don't think there's anything wrong. There's no secret that, they pioneered the multi-tier, compensation model, but they went with profit instead of revenue. So I do think that these models will continue to dynamically change, but I think the winner will be based upon the intention. I think when people want to get a smaller piece of a bigger pie and they want to create more opportunities, when their goal is to create one big fire for everybody, right? I think that over time, that in itself is going to create more value in the marketplace. And I think that will be reflected based upon the true authenticity. I mean, if people walk into a Keller Williams office, the time in which they invest in that agent does not have a revenue opportunity for them that solves a real problem in their life, which means it creates a dependable additional revenue stream that moves them from being transactional to having more leverage. Unless that economic opportunity ever exists, I don't see them ever really understanding the secret sauce. The secret sauce at EXP's business model is not the stock. Although the stock is part of the recipe, the outcome in which they did was they nailed compensation behavior alignment, where so many people are dedicated and have a reason and are aligned. There is a alignment, and their behaviors show where they're willing to help somebody make it into real estate above and beyond the responsibility of the broker, because that line for so many years has been established that, hey, we'll give you all these dollars back and cap everything, but you have to do all of this. You have to find a coach. You have to do this. You have to do that. And now here's your margins. Here's what it costs for this brokerage services, for us to be able to give you these professional services so that you can perform this business. this is what you're worth to us. And fundamentally, I think that within those unit economics, until they can get the 20% willing to help the 80% and solve the real problem in real estate, which is what nobody talks about, that 80% of the agents struggle, have part-time jobs, or barely make enough income, and are in this constant, feast or famine. And that's not the case. I mean, we have story after story after story where we helped people, but our compensation was paid in arrear. We were paid in arrear for the value we actually created in that EXP. That's the score, is the more value you can create and the more help you can provide, the bigger the opportunity. And it puts people like me and you from going, it takes us from taking our skill sets of being in the coaching or in the information business or selling lead business to just pushing that free line all the way to just optimizing, where I would say it's almost more of a functional coaching, where it's functionally based upon each individual and where they are and their resources and what they have available, and there's no limit to the time because the outcome is the result. It's not, hey, 30 minutes a call for XYZ dollars and I'll be your coach. It's, hey, we need to jump on the phone and get this done. Where are we at on this? And it's that total collaboration and community that that you can make a mistake by not understanding the true value. Compensation drives so much of the behavior, and so it'll be really interesting to see how they do that. What I'm interested to what you think.
Well, I think what you just said is the core of it. Is that I don't think that that it solves the compensation behavior alignment problem. It's not like what you previously said about EXP's stock not being the magic ingredient, but it is an ingredient, right? It's not the recipe, but it's an ingredient. I think that the stock is an ingredient, and unfortunately, and again, this is just based on some of my experience personally. First of all, I've never been with Keller Williams. I've had nothing but good things about to say about Keller Williams as far as an organization. However, on the back end and at some of the highest levels, with this, again, this is just based on my experience with some of the top teams that have transitioned away from Keller Williams over to EXP. A lot of their experience has been having to navigate some of the golden handcuffs that were put in place in terms of, market center agreements, non-competes, things like that. So unfortunately, with each additional opportunity to make more money or to create additional revenue streams within the Keller Williams ecosystem, it's just been my experience that these people those things have come with additional obligations, non-competes, additional contracts, being locked into agreements that unfortunately, when have kind of tried to be a retention tool more by force than by just simply creating more opportunity. So I tend to think that the stock here might be more aligned in those veins, meaning it is a retention tool, and I think it can be a great thing there. However, I believe that I don't think that it's going to be enough to retain some of the top people that continue to kind of make this mass exodus over to EXP, like what we've experienced, simply because that the revenue share model at EXP does exactly what you talked about. It creates so much the perfect recipe, the perfect alignment for guys like us, for guys like some of the top people that were maybe formerly with KW, to be able to spend their time and devote their resources, share all of their playbooks, open up their businesses to expand. and to add value to a network of agents.
I think it's great. Listen, I think Keller Williams is a great company, first of all, and they're playing a different game. That's the bottom line. And they're trying to change the rules. They're trying to change the rules to the game. And what we're saying is alleged, right? Allegedly, these are things that are happening when we have conversations with people. With any company, you gain people and you lose people. By no way are me or Woods giving stock advice. We're not in that business. What we are saying is that they are stepping up their game, and time will tell what the intentions are, right? Like, the time will tell what their true intentions are based upon if they change the rules to the game. The question is what problem are they trying to solve, and did they solve it? And the fact that brokerages are willing to give more to the agents, and however that works, because the agents work really hard, and whatever works with providing them with more opportunity and a better playing field as it relates to them having health insurance, exit strategies, I'm an advocate for. What I don't want is the emotional agent who is indecisive. Their life could change if they could just make a decision, and they're emotionally staying where they currently are. I mean, if Keller Williams makes a better value proposition, 50% of your success is going to come from having a good value proposition. And I'll tell you personally that I thought at one time, I fell into this camp, but I know it, but I used to believe that, part of their value proposition, and this is because it was a narrative that was given to me that I didn't even think about all of the physical buildings and rents until somebody told me out of their mouth that we have tons of buildings, and that's our competitive advantage. Let me tell you on how you can expand in other markets and leverage these buildings. Now, those buildings have rent. And when you have independently owned offices and other agents expand into those, and there's a financial relationship, and you can get all of those people on board in order to endorse a new business model where Michael, a agent, is going to practice in another market. And I'm going to make revenue in other markets instead of going independent in my market, instead of taking my current overhead and solving the problem of getting a better value exchange and lowering my overhead by going independent. I'm going to stay here because now what I'm being told is it's actually an opportunity for me to expand. And if I leave, there'll be pain of disconnect because I won't have this network. And I believe that in 2016. I believed it in late 2015. I had other people tell me that. I believed what they were saying. I was doing partner. I disagreed with some of those business changes. But the fundamental thing is that this pandemic has proven, I know people right now that have went from 300 transactions to 2,000 transactions, 300 plus to 2,000, and they literally are doing their first customer meetings on Zoom. And if you don't believe, just like with QR codes, okay, I was great. I was fantastic at direct mail. Direct mail built my business. There's nothing on planet Earth that I did that worked better. I did direct mail. I love direct mail because you can nail it and scale it. Once you understood the audience, the target with the messaging, you could make the investment, you could iterate. That's what I wanted because I didn't do, look, like if a direct mail piece cost me $1,000 to do all in my mind, it was 6,000 because it was going to take me 6 if I was lucky to nail it. But I didn't think of the $1,000 investment and then say, oh, okay, well, that didn't work. I wanted to work on messaging. When people say, well, you got to do this for 6 months, no, when you have your messaging right, it either works or it doesn't. You expose someone to an offer and you either found someone or you didn't. And so with direct mail, though, Woods, it's changed. We have these things called QR codes. And because of the pandemic, it will never, ever be the same. Now, the QR code was not heavily adopted. I've done direct mail with QR codes. I did direct mail with QR codes when QR codes first came out. But here's the problem, Woods. Nobody had a QR code reader. And up to that point, in order to get a QR code, you had to download a separate app. I got a direct mail piece from a guy, we'll call him Frank, that had a QR code. I downloaded the reader because one of my clients was on his postcard with a fancy headline, and I wanted to know what they were saying, and I couldn't get to the video. Because of COVID, because of this touchless community with menus, everybody has a QR code reader built into their camera. You can put your camera over it and go to a website. And so old things like direct mail have new functions, right? Everybody should have QR codes. Every book should have QR codes. When we wrote the digital president, every last chapter should have a QR code with a link to the companion course, right? But it's adopting those principles and understanding that markets change, consumer behavior changes. And as those changes take place, it's your responsibility to understand the principles. Where are people spending their time? What are their bottlenecks? What is the goal? What is the outcome? What are you trying to accomplish? I believe they are iterating on their process. They can never be placed out of the game. They can never, they can be slow to market. They can try to go with the wrong intention. If they go with the wrong intention, they won't solve the real problem, and they won't tap into the real behavior change in the movement that people feel, and there will be no real economic opportunity, which has been allegedly the problem, is that the profit share did not create enough profit to share. There was no consistency. People didn't have an exit strategy like they thought they did. Some people did, but those were far and few between. Now, regardless, the fact that they just even did that led to an iteration on the model that just made it better. No different than direct mail got better. Their model got better. If they just continue to adopt, but what do people do is they see something working and then they go to compete on price. And the companies out there right now that will take the model and go compete on price, they will learn the lessons that EXP already learned over the last 8 years. That's what they're going to learn. They're gonna learn the lessons on what they're gonna have to go out there and buy that T-shirt. And the thing is that I believe if you have an intention in the marketplace to create more value, and your intentions are right, and you have a brilliant team who's open to competitive research, interpretation of the market, meaning they do their research and they understand what's going on, and then they collaborate. You're either trying to solve the problem for the agent or you're trying to make more money, right? I believe that there's more money made solving the problem for the agent, because the people that solve the real problems for the agent and the people that solve that actually impact the problems that agents have the most, those are the ones that are going to create value. And therefore, whether they're public and they have a stock, or whether their business model is driven off of recruiting more people to the company, they are going to provide the tools, and the outcomes are going to be relevant based upon that. I think that the times are changing. I think they're trying to compete, and at the end of the day, I think that everybody's winning. I think at the end of the day, the consumer wins in a competitive market, and the consumer in this conversation is the agent, because the agent, when they win, they have more money, they're less stressed, they're more. I mean, imagine a person who needs a deal to close in order to pay their car, or in order to provide gifts to their kids on Christmas, right? I mean, no matter who they are, that's not a great place to be in life when you're trying to make decisions. And so I believe that when you provide a healthy business, when you help agents build a healthy business, in doing so, you're going to produce better agents, smarter agents, agents that have more discretionary time to invest in their education, become better trained, learn more strategies, stay in tune with the trends, and therefore you're going to create the agents of the future. And there'll be a Darwinian thinning of the herd. I said it in 2015. I said in 2015, the new team, the new norm is going to be 10 million in commissions. And I wasn't saying that. I was saying that because the digital agency model is going to be able to provide values. I disagree that they're going to have to do it within the confines of the independently owned and office and brick and mortar, based upon the franchises that only increase expense as you expand. I think EXP has created a model, both with technology, that allows agents, once they nail an agency model whether they have one editor or 10 editors, whether they have economies of management. They're going to be able to provide more value in more distant places, no different than Amazon with distribution centers or Walmarts. They're going to learn how to duplicate that, and they're going to have the economic incentive to either monetize that through products and services, coaching, or by partnering with people like we do. And I think the people that choose to go the partner route are going to ultimately, fundamentally have won, because they're going to be able to attract more people, because the value exchange is aligned back to what we said. There is no exchange of value unless we produce results.
Well said, brother. Well, hey, I know that we need to kind of wrap this up. One last question that I have for you is, what's your number one piece of advice for the real estate agent going into 2022?
At the end of this video, I would tell you, we'll put a link to a video, which is step 1 of the process of setting goals. And guys, this isn't goals, just goals. I believe that you have to have a vision. A vision is a decision filter. The way that you say yes and no to opportunity is through filters through core values. If you're going to hire somebody who doesn't align with your core values, you're going to probably teach them a lot to only have the hard face the reality of having them quit or having to fire them, right? Core values are a filter for making decisions on people. Vision and missions are what you're trying to do. You don't want to get to the top of the ladder. Like Zig Ziglar said, learning that your ladder was up against the wrong wall. So my advice would be get really clear on what your life looks like. Start with your life by strategy, right? Like design the life that you want, and don't live in a reported world. And don't feel guilty for thinking big or thinking better. I would say act as if you went to a wishing well. If you could wave a magic wand every month, would you start at 0, or would you have income coming in so you didn't start at 0? Would that income surpass your fixed expenses so that every month you weren't having to make money? You could work on projects you wanted to. If those are the things, that's all Life by Strategy is about. It's first chapter of the book, Digital President. Right. So my thing is that the first thing you have to do is define the life that you want. I believe once you have a vision for that, then you can do what helped us, which is you can ask the questions as you evaluate, is this going to move me closer or further away? Listen, there's a million ways to skin a cat. You can make money selling toothpicks. You can make money selling houses. You can make money doing a lot of different things. You can make money on YouTube and be 9 years old playing with toys. There's a million ways to make money. The question is how you're going to live your life. The best life to live is a life by strategy. And that starts with getting clear on what that looks like. Taking a step back, it's identifying what your perfect day would be. What's your perfect work day? Who would you be with? Where would you spend your time? What would you do? What things would you not do? What things do you hate? All of that is in this video. So at the end of this, I would go watch the video on the first step of goal setting, which really starts with the self-assessment of yourself, where you're currently at and where you're trying to go, until you get vulnerable and honest with yourself and address the issues. Because anything that you do that's going to be great is not about doing the great thing. It's about who you become along the journey. That's the process.
Well, I agree, man. Definitely the best life to live is a life by strategy. I think going into 2022, if there was one piece of advice I would offer is just, to be the agent that adds the most value. Money is just simply a scorecard for value creation. And so your ability to create value in the market is going to be elastic to the people that you're able to reach, the people that you're able to touch, the people that you're able to help. If you're going into 2022 and you're trying to figure out how can I expand the value that I add, well, ask yourself, how many people are you reaching with your message? How many people are you able to help? And should you be considering using platforms like social media, like YouTube, like TikTok, like Facebook, Instagram, all of these places where the people are, in order to be able to get your content out and able to get your message out so you can add more value in the marketplace, and then ultimately make more offers in the marketplace, which is going to help you drive your business, build your business. But when you start with thinking and asking yourself, how can I create more value? How can I add more value and then how can I scale that and do that with more and more people? I think that you're going to win. And so definitely go. If you guys like this podcast, make sure that you if you're on the YouTube channel, go ahead and subscribe as well. Leave us a comment. Let us know what you're most excited about in 2022. And then also too, make sure, like you said, check out, we'll drop a link for the goal setting video, the first steps for goal setting for 2022. And make sure that you get started on living your life by strategy, because the best life to live is
A life by strategy, baby.